All right. Hello, friends. Good evening. We are here again for the second week in a row with Dr. Kiana Berry Brown. And she is with us tonight to give us a presentation. It is called Beyond the Talk, a practical guide to sex ed for parents and teachers. So welcome back. We're so happy to have you, and we're looking forward to another great webinar. So I will hand it over to you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself for those who may have missed your previous ones, and then we'll get into it.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Dr. Kiana Berry Brown. I'm a physical therapist, doctor of physical therapy, and I specialize in pelvic floor physical therapy. Now, what some people don't know about me is that before I was specializing in pelvic floor, I was actually specializing in a lot of other different type of physical therapy. So, like orthopedics, neuro, pain science, and pediatrics. So I actually have a lot of experience with kids of all ages, from 3 month olds all the way to teenagers. And I got really good at being able to connect and have tough conversations with my clients and patients. And I also got the chance to talk with parents, with their parents as well. So that's a little bit of my history and my experience with children of all ages, preteens, tweens, to tiny little babies. And also coupled that with pelvic floor physical therapy, I very much understand how important having these tough conversations are. Um, and not just whenever they get their period, even before then. Not just whenever they start exploring their own bodies, even before then. So this whole presentation, I think, can be such a huge game changer for children, and helping them reduce the likelihood of having disorders later on in their life, helping them to have a very healthy development with their sexuality, with their body, with their autonomy. And it all starts here. It all starts having these ongoing conversations. So, this is almost like preventative care so that someone in the future doesn't have to see me, a pelvic floor physical therapist. And this is for parents and teachers. So, if we're going to start, we can jump right in. Is that okay? Perfect.
That's perfect.
All right, so Beyond the Talk, practical guide to sex ed for parents and teachers. And the reason why I wanted to add parents and teachers is because these are two figurehead adults in a child's life that they will have contact with on a regular basis. So teachers will have these uncomfortable conversations, and I'm going to help you understand how to actually navigate that. And parents, of course, because it always starts in the home. All right, let's go. Where's my Oh, there it is. All right. This whole thing is to empower you to lead ongoing, honest, safe, and supportive conversations. Because oftentimes, whenever we're not really sure what to say or we get uncomfortable, we may kind of shrink a little bit and not say the right thing. And that can kind of affect our children very deeply. Our beliefs and how we respond to our children will have a hand in their belief systems, will have a hand in their body image, will have a hand in how they react to their own problems, their own body, their own autonomy. So it really starts with you, and it really starts on understanding and having the tools and the scripts to be able to have these honest conversations. All right, so here are the learning objectives. This is what we're going to learn by the end of this. This is going to be a fun webinar, I think. So the first one is we need to learn what our children are actually ingesting. What are they hearing? What are they seeing? What are they talking about when it comes to sex today? Because we live in a very different world than even whenever I was a kid. And especially with the different generations that have come through Gen X, Boomer, Silent Generation. I'm sure that the Silent Generation, which would be like the Centennials down to 79-year-olds, their children were the Boomers and the Gen Xers. And I'm sure that we all could have done a little bit better. So, how can we start? We need to start by knowing what are our kids even ingesting. What are we up against, first of all? We're also going to learn the key components to comprehensive evidence based sex education that supports a healthy development. We're going to realize, okay, should we talk about sex? Should we not? If I talk about it, are my kids going to be interested and want to do it more? Am I just kind of speeding up the process? Should I just not say anything? We're going to practice language and tools on how to actually have these conversations without the shame, the fear, and the awkwardness. Now, some conversations you can't get away from being awkward, sure, but the shame and fear doesn't have to be in those conversations. We're going to recognize how your response shapes your child's belief systems. Your response shapes your child's response, and their response will shape their belief systems. All right, and then I'm going to give you guys scripts so that if you just don't know what to say, you can use the script and this template to be able to help guide you because every situation is not the same. Okay, what did you learn about sex growing up? I put a bunch of sayings that I've heard. And I asked some of my friends as well and some colleagues, what did you actually learn about sex? Okay, so here's a few. Oh, I learned more from friends and the internet than adults. Okay. My dad handed me a book and said, let me know if you have any questions. And I didn't because I didn't even know what was in that book. That was my story. They handed me a book and said, hey, read it. And I'm like, okay, no idea. I thought it was a documentary on birds and bees. Like, is this natural, geographic or something? Like, I had no idea it had to do with sex until like probably a couple years after. And I said, oh, that's dumb. Anyway, it's all about fear and shame, nothing about love and consent. Girls were told to protect their virginity, boys were told to wear a condom. Sex equals pregnancy and STDs and death. I heard someone say, if you have sex before marriage, you're probably going to die from STD. That's fear mongering, and that it is leads to very bad body image issues. And I would not recommend using that. Um, don't do until you're married. I think a lot of us have heard that, but no one really explained why. And we never talked about it. I had to Google it. I had to Google some things when I was a kid. When Google came out, I was like, yes, I can use the internet. I can figure this out. Okay, I'm sure that everyone else has their little talk bubble of what they learned or their environment when it came to sex. Some households, it actually never came up and they never got sex ed. They actually relied on the teachers at public schools to teach their kids. So they put that on the teachers, and the teachers may not have had the right verbiage or language to be able to guide that child. So this is why this webinar is so incredibly important. Okay, so what are the statistics? Before we get to the juicy stuff, we're going to talk about what are the stats? What has research told us? And this is going to be pretty surprising. Nearly 1 in 5 young people came across unwanted sexual content online, and about 1 in 9 are approached in a sexual way online. This is from the Journal of Adolescent Health, a study that came out, right? That's pretty scary because so many people are online and have access. We have so much access to information, and 1 in 5 young people came across sexual content online. Right, this is another stat. Social media usage and peer influence were significantly associated with sexual behavior. So, what does that mean? It means that the increased use of social media and the increase in peer influence, coupled together or even separate, increased the likely was associated with sexual behavior. Now, sexual behavior could be negative or positive, could be dangerous or could be healthy or safe. And what I don't like about this is how can we tip the scale to it be healthy and safe? Okay. All right, this stat 95% of youth ages 13 to 17 reported using social media platform, with more than a third saying they use social media almost constantly. So that just kind of coupled with the other stat, how 1 in 5 are experiencing this, and the stat that says increased social media usage, increased sexual behavior. We have a lot going against us. In other words, we are fighting a lot of different avenues of teaching our youth about their sexual health. So if you're not having the conversation, they're going to get it from somewhere else. If you're not having a conversation, they will statistically find it somewhere else at some point in their life. So it's better that it comes from you than social media and their peers. And it's also better that it comes from you because you can actually give them accurate information and accurate tools for them to be able to build their confidence, build their sexual health, and build their autonomy of their own body. Okay. Okay, does talking about it make them do it sooner? I've heard this all the time. Don't talk about it. Like, let's hush hush because we don't want them to actually do it faster or be so curious. Now, the reality is, young people are curious, and curiosity is okay. Curiosity is okay. Okay. This came from the American Academy of Pediatrics. They said comprehensive sex ed reduced the rates of sexual activity. Isn't that interesting? The more they had healthy sources of sexual education, it reduced the likelihood of them being sexually active. So that kind of contradicts the hey, don't talk about it because they're going to do it. Actually, the more information and empowering tools they have, the less reduced rates of sexual activity. Reduce sexual risk behaviors, STDs, pregnancies, promotes healthy sexual behaviors. So this is basically, I put this here to let you know, talk about it. Have the conversation, have the ongoing conversation, because one, if you don't have it, the world, social media, and their peers, which usually are misinformed, they will talk about it. And if you talk about it, you're going to give your child a fighting chance to be able to form healthy boundaries and have a healthy sexual belief system and body autonomy. All right, so how do we even do that? Remember, I said this curiosity is okay. Curiosity is fine. Curiosity is not wrong. It's actually how children learn, how children build, how children develop. We want them to be curious. If they're not curious, something's kind of wrong. If they're not engaged at a young age, developmentally, we'd say, let's help this person be more curious. Let's help this child be more engaged with their environment. So, curiosity is in itself harmless. It's okay. Okay. What we don't want to do is if a child comes in, they say, um, hey, my vagina's itching and they're scratching because it's itching. Let's say they never were given talk or never understood what that area was. And it could be led with, oh, don't touch there. Don't talk about your vagina. That's not what we say here. Right. That can lead with a lot of shame and overreacting because this child is just asking a simple question, being curious why it's down there itching a little bit. And instead of saying, okay, this child may be developing, may be growing some pubic hairs and it might be a little bit itchy there, or maybe there's a rash, a diaper rash. Do not overreact because the child is just curious. They're not leading with malice. Okay, bodily autonomy. What does this mean? Okay, so this can mean if a child does not feel like they have control over their own body, or they don't have the opportunity to have control over what happens to their body, this can lead to many dangerous belief systems that come in the future. This can lead to, well, I don't have control over my body, so I trust when someone else has control over my body. And that can lead to a lot of belief systems that are dangerous moving forward. Okay. So, even from a young age, consent matters. Okay. Helping your child understand that this is their body and they have choices as well. Now, this is age appropriate. You can have these conversations and discuss this as they develop, because I'm sure that you might not ask consent, hey, can I have consent to change your diaper? Now I gotta change your diaper. But these conversations can be had ongoing as the child develops. So, understanding that a child needs to understand they have control over what happens to their body. So, bodily autonomy. Okay. Teach your kids the right names to body parts. Please teach your children the right names. This is so important because if a child has a nickname for down there, and they don't understand what the actual body part is named, this can lead to a lot of confusion. Nicknaming it and saying, "Oh, that's your private parts or your poom poom." This is also very important as they get older, go to kindergarten, um, go into first grade. The reason why we want to give help the child understand what the body part is actually named and not just do nicknames is because this is going to really protect them later on. If another child is very curious about a body part, because children are curious. Some children might be in the sandbox saying, "Hey, I have a pee pee and you have something else." And you want your child to be able to come to you and say, Johnny or whoever, or Mrs. or Mr. Teacher touched my, and if they have a nickname, they don't understand that, that communication might get lost. So, helping them understand the right names to things can actually go a long way and protect them. And it's also good because it's good sex ed, and trying to nickname a body part like a vagina or a penis something different can also bring a level of shame and privacy and, ooh, let's not say that word. Accurate anatomy. Most adults may not have good accurate anatomy skills or education. So educating yourself on correct anatomy will also help. I have so many adults who say, "I don't know how many holes I have down there. I had no idea. I thought that I peed through my vagina hole." And they did not have appropriate sex education. Therefore, they are misinforming the next generation. So educate yourself and also educate your children, because anatomy is not shameful. Anatomy is not shameful. And if we move with shame, guilt, and being overreactive about these names, we can lead to unhealthy belief systems and we can stop conversations from even beginning. And that's where we come age appropriate language and define your household and classroom values. So, having boundaries is so important. And what this can look like is, what do I believe and what is also true? So, in a classroom setting, you can discuss, if we're going to have a scenario coming up in a second, but you can discuss a uncomfortable or inappropriate conversation that might be happening in a classroom setting, and the boundary can be, okay, right now it's math, we're not going to talk about that right now. However, I can send you to the nurse, or we can discuss this privately later. So, having those boundaries and understanding the values in a classroom is going to set you up for success when you're having these ongoing conversations. Okay, let's get to the fun part. Let's actually talk about a scenario, because we can talk about, oh, how you should talk, but when you're in the scenario and you're in the situation, sometimes all of that information gets thrown out the window and we just get kind of frozen in time. We don't know what to say. So this scenario is called the potty problem. All right. You're helping your 4-year-old wash their hands with your partner. Your partner finishes using the bathroom while they're there, and your child pauses, looks up, and says, Why does daddy pee standing up and you sit down? Is your pee pee different? Now, this is a 4-year-old talking. Your 4-year-olds are very smart, especially nowadays. 4-year-olds are like, 30-year-olds and 4-year-old bodies at this point. My niece, who's very, very young, she was FaceTiming me and texting me emojis. And I'm like, how do you even know how to do this? So 4-year-olds are pretty smart. And what we don't want to do is assume that, oh, I can't talk about this right now until they get older. This is setting the stage for that ongoing conversation we talked about, even at a very, very young age, having bodily autonomy, not overreacting, not bringing shame, and also educating on anatomical differences can be so key for someone this young. So here is our response. That's a really good question. Yes, bodies can be different. Daddy has a penis and I have a vulva. Saying vulva is actually a really great anatomical term than just vagina or pee hole. Vulva is the correct anatomical term. Both of these body parts help people go to the bathroom, but they look and work differently. All bodies are special and it's okay to be curious. If you ever have questions, you can always ask. So there's a few components to this response that I just love. One, we said thank you for giving me that question. It's such a great question. So we are basically encouraging curiosity in a healthy way. So we're not shutting it down immediately. The wrong response might be, hey, stop looking at that. Why are you looking at that? Like just wash your hands and dry them. Just go. Like we use the bathroom differently. It's fine. Whatever. Um, they're basically acknowledging that yes, there is a difference. This is a perfect time to create a foundation for their sexual health and their sex ed. Saying the anatomical true names is going to be great for this young child because these anatomical names aren't bad. They are not evil or inappropriate. They are anatomically correct. And it's going to set this 4-year-old, this young child, up for success and protect this child as well. Okay? Especially when they go to pre-K or kindergarten or first grade, they need to understand these words because other children are also curious. Okay, saying all bodies are special and it's so okay to be curious. It really brings in that confidence there. Like your body's special and daddy's body is special and they're both different. So it's not putting one above the other, it's equalizing that. And we have a beautiful ending. If you ever have any questions, please ask me. Starting at this age is opening that door. It opened the door for this young child's developmental growth to start trusting this adult and asking questions without fear of getting in trouble or reprimanded. So it can start very, very young and it can be appropriate, and you can speak about this age appropriately. Okay. Any questions about the potty problem, or are we going to go to the next one? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No.
Nope, I was just saying I'm ready to go to the next one.
All right. The schoolyard info. So now we get a little older, and honestly, sometimes I get a little scared with these Gen Alphas or these young kids because they get exposed to so much and they're going to come with questions. Okay. All right. Schoolyard scenario. During dinner, your 10-year-old comes up to you and says, someone at school said two people were doing 69, and everyone laughed. What does that mean? Now, I am sure whenever someone blurts that out, and when you're halfway through your sip of water, you may turn red, you may spit up a little bit because you just were not expecting that from your sweet, dear, innocent 10-year-old. You thought, oh man, the school, what school am I sending my child to? They're talking about 69. So I want you to pause, take a second, and calm yourself because that reaction is going to shut down the ongoing conversation. So Here's our response. After you've calmed down, you set your water down, and you're going to start by saying, "Thank you for telling me that." We're not going to start with, "Who said that to you? We don't talk about that thing at the dinner table. Eat your spaghetti." No, no, no. Say thank you. This is a perfect opportunity to encourage that open communication, to encourage that curiosity, and also redirect to a healthy idea and healthy mentality. Thank you so much for telling me that. I know my reaction is one of surprise. So acknowledge that you were surprised too. You don't have to like pretend everyone can tell. Your face went beet red. I need you to know that you are not in trouble. So usually when we react with, oh, what? A child may feel scared or afraid, be like, "Oh, was I not supposed to say that? I'm about to get in trouble. I'm never saying anything again." You want to acknowledge that they are not in trouble at all. Sometimes kids talk about things they've heard without really understanding them. 69 is a sexual term some people use when talking about adult bodies. It's something private that people might do when they're older and in a safe relationship. You don't need to worry about all the details right now, but I always want you to feel like you can ask me anything. I'll tell you the truth in the way that's right for your age. What a beautiful response. And we're going to dissect this really quick. So the first thing we saw, "Thank you for telling me." Second thing, you acknowledge your own reaction and you really encourage them to keep being curious, keep asking questions by saying, "You're not in trouble. I love that you're asking me this." All right. 69 is a sexual term. This is so important because if you just say 69 is just something adults do, that's not being specific enough. And this child may run into more of these encounters without being ready or having proper information. They might become misinformed and they might be more curious because I'm not getting information from you. Let me go back to my friend so they can tell me what it actually is. No, take the control and take the lead in actually educating them on this because they're going to find it out somewhere. Okay. So you said 69 is a sexual term that some people talk about, and it's between adult bodies. So you just said this is an adult thing and it's a sexual thing. It's something that does not involve you, but I'm going to explain to you the context of it. I'm not going to give you all the details because this is for adults who are in very safe relationships. Okay. I always want you to feel like you can ask me anything and I will tell you the truth that's appropriate for your age. Now you're setting down a boundary. Boundaries are safe. Boundaries are not brick walls. Boundaries are bridges. So, starting off with creating a healthy boundary with your child is going to teach them how to create boundaries later on in their life. So, if there's no boundaries at home, a child may not even understand how to have boundaries and may find them in precarious situations. So, you creating healthy boundaries is so good. This was a healthy boundary because you said, "I'm going to explain these things to you that's right for your age. You're not going to get all the details right now because they are not age appropriate." That is what we talked about when we said, what is our household values? Our household values are, I will tell you the truth that is appropriate for your age. And that can be a very healthy boundary to have. Any questions on this, or can we go to the next scenario? Next scenario.
Next scenario.
All right. This one. All right. So you see how we're kind of starting from 4 and now we're in 15? We're kind of climbing the age developmental ladder. A lot, statistically, a lot of things can happen at 15. I think this, I can't remember the statistic, but most children or most people have said they've lost their virginity around 14, 15. So, this is the perfect time to actually discuss some of these nuanced conversations. This is the best time to actually sit down and have that sex ed because your child is 15-year-old, they're a teenager, and you got only 3 years before they're legally adults. And a lot of people don't realize that, like, "Oh, I got 3 more years and that's it." So it's better to empower someone at 15 than to wait till they're 18 and then dump a bunch of information that they don't even know how to use. Scenario: they asked me to send a nude. If a parent heard that, I'm sure that they would get red in the face, shocked, and they try to find the person who did that and say, "Yeah, you're never gonna. I can't believe you did you." A lot of overreact reaction. But let's actually dive into it. Your 15-year-old comes into the kitchen looking unsettled. After some hesitation, they say, "So, someone I like texted me and asked if I'd send them a picture. I think they meant like a nude. I didn't send anything, but now I feel really weird. Is this normal? What should I do?" First off, if your kid's coming to you asking you this question, you probably did something right, because this 15-year-old is coming to you in their dire need for the boy or the girl that they have liked since middle school, the beginning of the end of elementary or whatever, or the new kid. And this is the perfect time for you to really empower your child and also celebrate that they even came to you in the first place. Okay, so the fact that they're even asking you this, good job. You have created really good steps to their sexual development, and they feel a lot of trust to come to you. They didn't call their girlfriend or their guy friend. They actually came to you the moment they got that message. So, good job. Here's your response. Here's what you would say. "Thank you for telling me." So always thank them, right? That was really brave. You're not in trouble and you didn't do anything wrong. So we talked about this, like that you didn't do anything wrong, right? But this is also a really great way to segue into body autonomy, right? Helping them understand, just because someone asks you for this picture, you didn't do anything wrong to elicit that. And I know it made you uncomfortable. It's not your fault. You didn't, you know, and also you are safe with me. So that's kind of creating that separation. Okay. Unfortunately, yeah, this kind of thing happens a lot. Some people think it's normal to ask for pictures like that, especially when they're flirting. Some people think, but the truth is, it puts a ton of pressure on you to do something that may not feel right. And once a photo is sent, you lose control over where it goes. You get to have boundaries. Liking someone doesn't mean you owe them anything. Not your body, not a picture, not your time. A person who respects you will also respect your no. If you want, we can talk about how to handle it or block them. I'm here for you. You're not alone. All right, so we're gonna break this down. Wasn't that beautiful? Actually, I I just love that conversation just completely empowered that person and gave them the tools to be able to not only say no in the future, but have very safe boundaries when it comes to their own body. So this is huge. This is such a huge lesson, because now they feel empowered to be able to say, "Oh, I can say no. I'm not uncool. I have control. I don't have to just do this because they like me and I like them. And, I don't want to mess this up. And we're just flirting. I feel safe." Even though them asking me this is putting a lot of pressure on me and making me uncomfortable. So, what you just did is that you stepped in and actually empowered your child to feel confident, to have a very safe boundary, to have bodily autonomy, and also have a game plan. Would you like me to help you handle this? Because you're not alone. Or we could just block them and you don't have to engage with this person, especially if they are asking you to do this, right? We got a lot of people pleasers out there who really want connection and they don't necessarily know how to say no. So, this is where this can begin. This is setting your child up for success, setting your child up for very healthy relationships with healthy boundaries. Um, so, when these happen, remember, do not overreact, do not shame or guilt. The worst thing you could do is Who are you talking to? And why would they even ask you for a pic? Shifting blame on someone saying, what did you do to make them want to ask you that? That's not cool at all. And that shifts the blame onto the child who it wasn't even their fault. They came to you in a vulnerable moment and you made them realize or made them feel, oh, I'm bad. And somehow my presence, my body, and whatever I'm doing elicited this, and it's my fault. So, no, we want to make sure we don't blame, we don't shame, we don't overreact. We always empower. We always have open ended questions. If you don't know how to deal with this, you can say, how did that make you feel? That can be the first conversation because it opens to them expressing to you, well, actually, I felt really, really nervous and uncomfortable, and I just don't know if I like this person saying that to me. Or I feel really excited that this guy likes me, but I don't know if I want to take a nude and show my body. Do you think that they may not like me anymore if I don't? So, having those open ended questions is going to lead to you connecting with your child and also helping them actually work through this issue on their own. All right, next one. Okay, so we talked a lot about parents. Let's talk a little bit about teachers because teachers may not always have the opportunity or the privilege, or they may not have the ability to talk very bluntly with their students just because it might be inappropriate. Okay, so here's a little bit of a game plan when it comes to teachers. It's still very, very similar. So we still want to stay calm and neutral because most of our sexual health will come from the home, right? A lot of people rely on teachers to do the sex ed talks, but a lot of those belief systems really start at the home. So staying neutral and calm is going to really help not only empower the student, but reinforce, or not reinforce, but it's going to allow them to not step into an ongoing conversation that's been happening at home. Okay. You always want to make sure you have your own boundaries, and responding with shock or judgment to help the student um, feel safe and supported. So, sorry, respond without shock or judgment to help the student feel safe and supported. So, when you're a teacher, imagine you are a conduit of a parent, right? You want to make sure that you are not shocked and you are not judging and you are not shaming the student either. So across the board, just stay calm. Don't overreact. Stay neutral as possible if you're a teacher. And if you're a parent, you can say, well, this is what I believe and this is what's true. Can you tell me how you feel about that? And what are some of your thoughts on that? Okay, so there's just a little bit of a difference. Affirm their experience. Let them know their feelings or questions are valid. And that's going to help build trust and reduce the shame as well. Some kids may get a lot of shame and guilt at home, and this is the first time ever that they've experienced bodily autonomy. They've experienced empowering language, and this might be the first time they're realizing, wow, what I feel and what I have to say actually matters. So always affirm their experience, and that's going to help build their trust. Offer options, not pressure. Offer options, not pressure. We're going to talk a little about this in the next scenario. Give the student choices on how to proceed, whether it's going to the nurse or talking more later. This also develops bodily autonomy. This also develops confidence, body image, confidence, and self esteem because they have a choice and they can be part of that conversation, part of that choice. And of course, we already talked about know your boundaries. Every school teacher might have a different classroom, a different culture, different grade. So stick to age appropriate information and always redirect. If you're not really sure, redirect and then come back around and have a conversation with them, their parents, or whoever you need to. Right. Complex issues, you might be in the middle of an algebra class and something happens where it's inappropriate. Redirect their attention, and then you will also have a chance to think about your approach as well. So that's an easy one as well. You can always come back, say, you know what, we're gonna finish this class, but afterwards we can have this discussion privately, or I can send you to an appropriate official, whether it's the nurse or if you need to call your parent. Okay, everyone see that? They see that? The next scenario is whispering about porn. Whispering about porn. All right. So this is a teacher scenario, it's a classroom scenario. You're helping students with a group project when you overhear two seventh graders whispering about something on their phone. One of them says softly, "It wasn't even that bad. It's just some porn site." The others laugh nervously. You're not sure if they're looking at it during class or just talking about it. So what are you going to do? Are you just going to ignore it? Nope, you don't have to ignore it. We have a game plan. So here is your response. This is that redirect technique that we were talking about. Hey, I heard part of your conversation just now. That's not something we're going to talk about during class. Okay, so let's get back to your work. So this is a really great way to redirect away from something that's inappropriate that you can't address right then and there. Right? You're not going to be angry or shaming. Your tone matters. Your tone matters. And you just redirect. So later, before class is over or privately, you pull them back and say, I want to check in about what I overheard. So now you redirected, but you did not ignore. You addressed it head on. I'm not upset, but if you've seen something online that's confusing or makes you uncomfortable, you can always talk to a trusted adult. There are a lot of things online that don't show real relationships or real bodies, and it's okay to have questions. This one sentence can change someone's mindset and outlook when it comes to porn because oftentimes, just like we talked about, oh, where did your sex ed come from? A lot of people may say, oh, I saw something online. Oh, porn taught me. Oh, so sorry. All right. Porn taught me. Or, oh, my peer showed me something and I figured that it goes in like that, right? 9 times out of 10, these adult sites are not accurate. They're not showing real relationships. They're not even showing real intimate or intimacy. It's doctored and there's a lot of takes that happen in the midst. Some people think, oh, I could go on for like 2 hours. This is how it's supposed to go. So there's a lot of information there. And so what they broke down and saying, one, if you notice something that's uncomfortable, confusing, you can definitely talk about it and you can actually get information that you're looking for. We're not shaming you. I'm not upset at all because there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of things online that do not show actual relationships or real bodies. So you basically let them know, hey, what you're watching may not even be the real thing, and this might be misinforming you. It's okay to have questions. You just opened the door. And so now this person can really say, oh, so that was even like real life. And two, I can actually receive accurate information from someone that I know, a trusted person. Okay, I would rather go to someone I can trust than go to a site that I don't know these people. Okay, so we redirected and we empowered um, the students to know, hey, you can actually talk about it. It's so okay to have questions. I'm not upset about it at all. I know it can be confusing and uncomfortable because there's so much misinformation out there. Okay, we got to the script. If you don't know what to say, use the script. If you have no idea or you're unsure of how to even approach this, if you can't even catch your breath and you cannot remember all the scenarios we talked about, use a script. So I gave 3 scripts. And honestly, I think that if you just remember the key components to a healthy ongoing conversation, you're going to be just fine. All right. When a child asks a surprising question, we already know we don't want to overreact. We don't want to shame. We want to have open ended questions. This is a script that we can use. That's a great question. I'm glad you felt comfortable asking me what made you think about that. One, you just affirmed and empowered this child and thanked the child for asking you. You just solidified your trust because you're saying, I'm so glad. It makes me happy that you feel comfortable talking to me. And you began with an open-ended question. Now you can get more information instead of having to find the birds and the bees in your library. You can actually ask them, oh, tell me what made you think about that. Tell me how you feel about that. Okay. This opens that door. It also gives you time to think. Give you a chance to catch your breath and like, oh my goodness, now's the time. My little child's older. All right. Okay, you don't know how to answer right away. Redirect, redirect. I want to give you a good answer and I need a minute to think. Can we talk about it after dinner or in a few minutes? I love this because this actually teaches a child to be vulnerable and honest. Oh, yeah, I don't know everything. Oh, I'm so sorry. Your mom or your dad, who's supposed to be the superhero in your eyes, does not know everything. And that's okay because curiosity and having questions is okay. So you're modeling that. If you want your child to be a certain person or be successful or to be kind, model that behavior. So you're modeling vulnerability and honesty. I want to give you a good answer. I just need a minute to think about this so that I can give you the best answer that's age appropriate for you. And we can talk about this and set a time. This is a boundary. I'd like to talk about this after dinner once I figured out what I want to say to you. And I can be the most honest and you can ask me more questions. And this keeps the door open without shutting them down, gives you a chance to think, and also models the behavior you want in your child. Okay? If you want your child to be honest, you need to be honest. If you want your child to be vulnerable and open with their feelings, you also need to do that appropriately. But you need to model that behavior. A child shares something personal or uncomfortable. Thank you. You see a trend here? Thank you for telling me. You're basically affirming that child. Thank you for taking that step and for trusting me. You are not in trouble. I'm proud of you for speaking up. And you can continue with an open-ended question. Can you tell me a little bit more of how this makes you feel? Open-ended questions are great. Gives you time to think. It also helps your child develop critical thinking skills. Right? Starts with reassurance before addressing the actual issue. So curiosity is not wrong. Every human is curious. Children are curious. They literally just got here, and the world is so interesting. So, having these scripts, write these down, put them in your journal, use them with other adults, use them with your partner, use them with your older child who's grown now. You know, practice this. Practice does not make perfect. Practice makes progress. And you won't get every conversation perfect, and that's okay. What matters is that you show up, you are vulnerable, you are there. Okay? You're not shutting anything down. You're listening and you're trying again and again and again and again. Okay? The more you keep practicing having these very difficult conversations, the better you're going to be. And we want them to be honest, even though it's uncomfortable. Okay? Trust is built over time. Trust will not just come out of nowhere. Okay. And we want to build trust at a very young age so that as they get older, they can lean on you for wisdom. They can lean on you when they just need you. If you don't allow your child to need you, they're going to grow up not needing you and not needing to talk to you at all. So give your child the opportunity to need you, to trust you by having these open ended, honest, and uncomfortable conversations. Okay. Thank you so much. Do we have any questions at all?
There. I was trying to unmute myself. No, I don't have any questions. I think it's great information. I've been in the boat. My son's 16, so
Mhm.
lots of these conversations, and it's just I don't know, like you were saying, the generations are so different. So the conversations our parents had with us or lack thereof,
Oh
um,
yeah.
totally different now. So this is a really good tool to kind of help like some of us that just didn't have that kind of resource growing up. Like, okay, I'm going to change the narrative
Mhm.
and teach my kids and have these kind of conversations with my kids. And I love it. So,
Yeah, and it's never too late. I think some people, I definitely understand some parents, especially parents that I've worked with, they think, oh, my child is old enough and I don't need to do that anymore. My job's over, they're grown, they're out the house, we're great. Well, no, the conversation continues and it continues and it continues, even when they're adults, because they're still your baby. They're still your children. So
right.
it's never too late. And I also think, when you lead with vulnerability and honesty, you're only going to get that back, whether it's uncomfortable or not.
Right.
Was there anything in the presentation that you could relate to the most, or a tool that you think you want to try?
I think the thing that related the most was the nude scenario.
Oh, okay.
That we had a different scenario, but it was, in middle school, somebody sent out a picture and all the boys are passing it around and they're sending messages and they're sharing it with each other. So we had to have a conversation and I told him, you'll never get in trouble if you receive it. Just don't share it. And if you receive it, please let me know so I can help you. Because in their 12-year-old brains, they think they're adults and they can handle it and they don't need mom. But you also have to have a conversation about how serious it is, too, because this is a 12-year-old girl sending pictures and we can't be distributing this to people.
Mhm.
So, kind of opening up that environment to say, come to me if you receive this, because half their basketball team got suspended because they all shared it with each other.
Ooh,
Yeah. So it's like if
okay.
you receive it, you can't help that. I can
Yeah.
help you. We can figure out what to do with it after that. So don't try to handle it on your own. You're not in trouble. Let's figure out how to fix this and what we need to do. So, because there are very serious consequences for that. So,
Yeah.
just getting them to understand that as well.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
the consequence part is pretty big because when you're young, like consequences, what's that?
Yeah.
But it impacted the whole basketball team, plus the little girl, plus the girl's parents, plus the girl's friends and siblings and neighbors, and it is serious. And with every action, there will be a reaction and a consequence that may follow, whether negative or positive. I think
Right.
what's so important is like sometimes you can't control what other people do, but you can control what you do. And this
Correct.
is what our family does because we're here for you. I think that's
Correct.
what I heard like from what you were trying to convey to your 12-year-old.
Yeah. It was interesting. And you don't expect the conversation either at that age. You don't, so it's good to I kind of giggled when you were like, oh, the 15-year-old scenario. And I was like, oh, well, we had a 12-year-old scenario with that. It just is happening
Yeah.
earlier and earlier. So, like you said, it's never too early to have that conversation and
Never.
appropriateness and boundaries. And it's not funny to take a picture of somebody in the locker room.
Mhm.
Boys they have very interesting humor. So, that's not funny. That's not
Mhm.
okay. And telling them those things because there's a lot of things you have to say that you don't think you have to say. But
I,
definitely.
yeah, I'm sure you're like surprised some of those things even come out your mouth. It's a
Yeah.
different world now, a
Yeah.
very different world.
Mhm.
And now with AI coming out, I'm hearing a lot of other things as well, like other interesting scenarios that are happening. And oh, yes, your hand's up.
Yeah,
What would you like
raise
to say?
hand.
Yes, I'm listening to this. It's a novel right now, but it's about sex trafficking and how so many predators out there are online with our children on social media in their DMs. And they're pretending to be their age. And so maybe we need to teach one on that, Dr. Kiana, too, just like safety. But for example, we're talking about the 12-year-old girl, the 15-year-old girl. You don't know the space even where this girl is, like, and all the dangers. I mean, it's really scary. It's really scary. And I think empowering our children and our young adults with the tools and the information on how to handle this, and then also having that relationship with them where they feel safe to come to us, that is so huge. Because with technology, this is only, and with AI and all the things, this is only going um get worse, I think. And
It
so
already has,
yeah,
unfortunately.
it's so scary. It's so scary. And how, like, there's this scenario in this novel where and I know that this is based on reality of some people, but where the predator was asking, like, oh, you're so beautiful, what do I, got her trust, and then said, you want to make a little money, you'd be a beautiful model. I need you to, you would be modeling like jewelry and furs and maybe some cars, but nothing untoward, of course. And so they get there, there's like 18 girls and they're all excited and they're making, a lot of money, $1,000 a day. It sounds so good. And then they do the day thing, and then they're like, oh, stay for dancing and a party. And, they have their trust at that point. And so the girls are staying, and then they drug them and do terrible things and then
Yeah.
kidnap them. And it just snowballs, right? So I'm not saying that every single scenario is going to come out like that, but it's a gateway. So we just need to be cautious. And I love that you're having this conversation. Thank you
Oh,
for teaching this.
yes. Oh, absolutely. And I know how you're saying like that might not be every scenario, but unfortunately, child trafficking is a real thing, especially in some areas. Like I was in Houston before moving to Charlotte, and there we encountered so many trafficking victims, and it was normal for that city to be able to see all of that happening, young children, young women. So it's really not just a scenario that could happen, it's happening. And with technology, with deep fakes, with AI, there's so more access to our children, and there's so much access to like in even in their homes. Not even like, oh, come to this place. In their homes, they can say, hey, I'm going to meet you at your school, or send me this online, and I'll send you a favor, or I will, give you some money. And it's disgusting, and it's very common. So having these conversations is so imperative, especially now, and especially for these children's futures, because once they get out of that childhood phase and they're 18 and older and they're legal adults, just like we talked about, there's so many consequences to how their sexual health has developed. 12 or younger. So yeah, absolutely. We definitely, and I definitely be open to speaking on that, like trafficking, and because that can also, not even just trafficking, but sexual assault or trauma, because we have to have trauma informed care whenever we are helping these people who may develop pelvic floor disorders or health issues or chronic illnesses just because of traumatic incidents that happen in childhood. So absolutely, we have to have these conversations more often.
Agreed. I agree. Well, Dr. Kiana, thank you so much. As always, this was wonderful. We appreciate your thoughts and your energy and your knowledge, and look forward to all the other webinars we can come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoy this and teaching, and I'm sure so many people will just eat this up and be ready to have these conversations, or if they're even planning on having children, I think that a lot of people are afraid to get it wrong. And, oh, what if I'm not the best parent and this world's crazy? There is a strategy and there's tools that you can have to really help children be the best and have the best advantage in life. And it's there, it's right there. So thank you so much for allowing me to even talk about this and be here.
Of course, it's great. Anybody can benefit from it.
Yeah.
Teachers, parents, aunts, uncles, just anybody that has younger adults and children in their life. So
Mhm.
we appreciate your knowledge. So thank you all for joining us at a later date on a recorded webinar. If you have any questions, please feel free to forward them to Janice or I at my PFM or Dr. Kiana. She has her information earlier in her slide, I think, or maybe a previous one. But if you have questions, we can always put you in contact with her. But thank you so much, and we hope you guys have a great evening. Bye-bye.